You are listening to the Draw 4 podcast. Good tidings, and thanks for joining us. I am Joseph Dunlap, executive producer of Draw 4 Podcast and Player 4 Podcasts and a writer for ManaLeak.com/NTGUK.
I'm TJ Love. I live in Stephenville, Texas. I'm a student at Tarleton. I've been playing competitive Magic for a good solid 7 years now. My primary interest, I like to go to play in competitive events. Draft, I really like Limited. But I have to say my favorite format is Standard. It probably is and always will be.
My name's Deb Milhan. I am a tournament organizer for a gaming store in West Texas called The Gathering Place in San Angelo. I am definitely not a pro player. I strongly prefer casual formats over competitive play. I'm very much a kitchen top player, and my favorite format is EDH, Commander format.
So welcome to episode 2. We're going to actually start off and spend most of this episode talking about the new sealed tournament rules change.
The way it basically works is that you'll be sitting across the table from another player. You will open your packs, look at your cards, and hand them to the player across from you to register and vice versa. It's a pretty simple change, but rather a large change in the scope of things. They've never really done anything like this before, where they actually have player-to-player accountability in the game.
As a tournament organizer, do you like this change?
It's okay. It definitely gives a lot more work to the tournament organizers to make sure everything's been done correctly. I have a personal dislike of sharing my cards with other players. When I play any kind of draft format or a sealed format, I'm not particularly fond of letting someone else see what my pulls are. Some decks just basically make themselves, and I don't particularly want the person across from me to see those cards. But aside from that, I think it's a really good idea. It will prevent players from being dishonest, and it will encourage players to really keep track of what they're pulling and how they're going to use those cards.
I heard some people saying about this change that it was possible for the players across from each other to engage in a sort of collusion or cheating. I have an opinion about that, but I wanted to know your opinion since you're a tournament organizer.
It's always been somewhat lax in non-competitive sealed formats where players, are able to talk to each other about how to build decks. And I'm sure that in those situations that card trading has happened at some point in time. I also think that it is very possible for this system to be manipulated, but it definitely puts more of a leash on the players as a whole in requiring them to, check each other's decks out.
The aspect that I really want to touch on is the reason for the big change, the fact that you are seeing the cards that you will be playing. Because up to this point, it's always been look at the cards, cry a little bit, and give them to someone else. Or drop the tournament, which you paid good money to go to because the card is more valuable than the tournament itself.
One of the big problems that I really like you were saying, it's passing the cards to another player, and you sit there and you think, wow, this deck could be really good, or this deck could be really bad. I'm so glad to pass it. Well, like Joseph said, it's a lot more counterproductive to be able to go to a tournament and build this deck out while you're opening these packs, because one of the things that's big and limited is building your packs as you go, or building your deck as you go. And frankly, getting the cards from another player supposed to getting to keep your own is a little bit of a disadvantage to a lot of people, and I believe it will help a lot with the problem.
I think I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the idea that previously the time you had to build your deck was the time that you were allotted to build your deck. But now, for people who have trouble building their decks, this is actually advantageous to see the cards while they're registering them, so that when it's time to sleeve up, they've already kind of got an idea of what they're going to do. Yeah, and when I'm playing draft, you're building your deck as you're seeing these cards, whether you're passing the pack or not. Even in sealed, it's the same way. You're building your pack, you're building your deck in your head before you even finish, opening packs. So to be able to take the time out of the tournament to practically sort someone else's cards out, taking time out of deck building for yourself I think it's actually going to be a little bit more of an improvement. I really overall just have a pretty straightforward thought on terms of the time limit, and
Honestly, the time limit, I've never really had like a problem building as a player building a deck in draft or sealed. Like it's just I sort my cards, I look at my mana costs, I sort them out, I start making cuts. It's pretty straightforward, and honestly, I don't believe that people are getting cheated out of the time. It's moreover that they're putting other cards in their head. Like with their open right now with the old rule, basically opening someone else's deck. And it honestly is a little bit easier on the mind to be able to open just your packs and go from there. Like it's just here's my cards, write them down, give me my cards back, and while he's doing that, I've got plenty of time to plan, prepare. Like it's already a competitive format, but I believe it's going to improve on the competitive ability of the format in general. There was really no way to make a total improvement on this rule. Like yeah, it has its advantages and disadvantages, but I believe that there was really no way to make this entire thing possible without making somebody upset.
I think that's kind of the case with all the rules they make.
Yeah.
And that's a really good point. There's going to be no rule that they're going to make that's going to make everybody happy. I think that they had a problem, they addressed it the best way that they could, and I think this rule is a really good example of the fact that they really do care about the environment that their players are playing as, and I think that this rule will attempt to make that environment better and more secure for the players that had some concerns about dishonesty.
Well, let's get down to the nitty-gritty on this. The reason for all these rules changes, which is the fact that people started to view it as more advantageous to simply drop a tournament than play. Ironically, the price of cards, keeping them from playing because they have the card, not because they don't have the card. And it reflects a much larger problem, and this is a way to fix it. This is a way to address it without changing the way that people think, because you can't do that. You can't stop somebody from wanting to drop when they get a good card. What you can do is just make it to where they don't have to choose. I just feel like it's a bigger problem overall in Magic the Gathering, that the cards are of such value that you'd rather take the expedition than pass it. Is there a situation where either of you have had to pass on something that you really wanted to drop for?
Grand Prix Dallas, almost 2 months ago, I think. We got down, I started opening the packs I was given. They gave us like little fat pack boxes. And my pack one was Honored Hierarch and a foiled Nissa Vastwood Seer. And honestly, the thing going through my mind was, oh no, I gotta pass this in like 5 minutes, Later, and as I kept going into my packs, like, I didn't really pull anything like money-wise after that. But honestly, like it was just, in terms of value, the deck's value overall was just phenomenal. Like I honestly it came with Gaia's Revenge, another Honored Hierarch. Honestly, just the value of the deck in general, in terms of money, was significantly higher than most of the other decks at the tournament were, because of that one card. But I didn't feel like I had the need to drop from the tournament, because I took the whole weekend off. I came to play. That's how I feel about it. I came to play. I didn't really come to make money.
That's really what it comes down to. You're there to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's the point. Like, you shouldn't be playing this game to make money. I mean, if some people do that, and pros do that all the time. They're very good at it, but they do it because they enjoy it. Like any pro player you meet in your life, I've even asked Patrick Chapin this. You will never play this game for money. You'll play it because you enjoy it.
Well, ultimately, you're there to play the game. You're not there to crack packs. If you want to crack packs, go to an LGS. Go to Dove's LGS.
I will admit, though,
Yes,
admit, it is one of the hardest things to do, is to pass one of those cards, because like the pool I received was definitely good, but I was like, as I'm building that deck, I was like, man, that other deck would have been so much better. Like, even it was funny because when we did I think it was like you passed your deck, people left and then one across, or something like that. I couldn't remember exactly. The guy that got my cards looked at me. He's like, "Are you kidding me?" And I was like, "Yeah, it was that good." And he goes, "Why didn't you walk off?" And I was like, "I came to play, man." And he goes, "Well, okay." But, I mean, I was already feeling bad enough about it, and then that guy was just giving me like this look like I'm an idiot, like, really, dude?
Well, so here's the big question. Did he take the card and then walk off?
Yeah.
He didn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have a situation where you pass somebody good cards and they ask why you did, you know there's a problem. And that problem, if you don't make a change, which they made the change, when you don't make a change, the problem results in no good cards actually being used in the tournament, and that simply doesn't make for good gameplay. Nobody wants to watch that.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you're just like, well, you get these cards, you open your packs, you make your deck, and when you pass it to somebody else and they're giving you like that face, why are you doing this? Why are you even here? You should have dropped, etc., etc. People don't, like I said before, people don't understand that it's a game. You come to play it, not open a couple. I didn't drive a couple hours to open a couple packs and leave.
I'd like to do a follow-up real quick on episode 1, because we talked Pro Tour stuff in episode 1 a little bit. We talked about Battle for Zendikar, and we talked about certain cards we thought might see some play. And we've got our first big tournament in which to compare what we said to what actually happened. So we had Jared DeMartini. Dove, you may know Jared DeMartini, perhaps.
Oh, you mean my boss?
Yeah. And we had Ben Conti from across the pond over in England. And we talked about some of our favorite cards from Battle for Zendikar. And we rightly kind of predicted that there weren't going to be a lot of game changers in Battle for Zendikar. So real quick, I actually wrote up a follow-up on what we said versus what happened in the Pro Tour. First off, we said basically that if you can cast 2 a white and a white on turn 4, you're going to play Gideon. And I heard some naysayers after the fact. And I just want for the record that I believe everyone that played white in the top 8 played a playset of Gideon.
Yes, from every other deck list that I looked, especially the Jeskai list and the Green-White Megamorph list, they all ran just a playset. And someone made a joke to me the other day. I was like, did you guys watch the top 8 of Pro Tour Battle for Zendikar? And they're like, oh, you mean Pro Tour Gideons?
Yeah, no kidding, right? That card's good.
But, no, he's bonkers. Like, he's straight board presence. He's an aggro beater. He's just... Anthem effects in general have always been good Magic. And the fact that you can drop him... And that's another thing. A lot of people have said, why would you play 4... He's one of those few exceptions where you want to play 4 of a legendary card. Because it's like, well, you're never going to not get value out of him.
Well, yeah, if you've got 2 in hand, you drop the first one in Anthem and drop the second one.
The card, no matter in multiples, is still value. And that's very rare for a legendary card.
So the big thing was that the final match was actually Abzan versus Jeskai with playsets of Gideon in both decks. Shambling Vent, as predicted, saw play in nearly every Abzan deck.
Right now, I'm actually playing Abzan Control in Standard. And my original list had 4 Shambling Vent, and I agree, the card's great, but I decided to cut down to 3. But the card itself in Standard is bonkers.
Bring to Light was in 2 of the top 32, and they were 2 completely different decks. I mean, they both played Siege Rhino, but that's not really a deck. That's just a way to win. Most Siege Rhino players preferred to put counters on Hangerback Walker rather than tutoring, so it was really only 2 decks. One was a control deck, and one was just a Hangerback deck.
I did actually play against a Bring to Light deck, and it was, if you want to guess what it did. I mean, that's the thing about that card. I think it makes a deck... Bring the Light is a card that just makes a deck, and it's so straightforward. But I think, honestly, in the Bring to Light deck, Jace is still the bigger card in that entire deck.
Well, yeah, the control version of... Actually, I think both versions had Jace in it. I played against a Bring to Light deck on X-Mage. I was playing Lantern Control, so I was a little bit confused while I was playing against a Bring to Light deck. And after a while, I started to notice every card was standard. So I was like, you realize all your cards are standard, right? And he was like, oh, I don't know what format it is. I'm a new player, or something like that. And I was like, well, I'm sorry that you ended up playing against a modern deck. I thought you wanted a modern match, so I brought my modern deck, because you search by format. And he said, no, it's modern. I'm like, no, it's not. And so it was a deck that was tutoring up whatever he needed, and it was a lot of Graveyard Recursion, Green Warden, which we didn't see at all in the Pro Tour, Den Protector, which we did see, Clever Impersonator, and it was just making as many Siege Riders as he could make.
That's really interesting. I'm a homebrew girl. One of the decks that I've been working on has been Sultai creature control, and it has Bring to Light, Kiora, and a lot of black control and Scion generation for Bone Splinter. I found I found that I win most of my games, and usually when I lose my games, it is because I could not get my fatties out fast enough. But
I can't even name how many times in limited I've played Oblivion Sower, felt like so great and say go. And they'll be like, okay, here's my Scion, kill it.
exactly. Like Bone Splinter is really overpowered for what it does. I
I
looked at the card when I first pulled it when we were doing the pre-release, and I leaned over to my husband and I said, "Are you sure this is a common? Because this doesn't feel like a common to me."
No, the card should honestly. I think it could see standard play, but if Jeskai tokens wanted to play like a dark Jeskai tokens, that card would be bonkers. And I don't like in the dark Jeskai list now. I don't think losing value creatures to kill other creatures is a thing right now.
That's a really interesting point.
Not as long as you can so easily overrun your opponent, it won't be really that important to kill their stuff. But if they start to lose their ability to swing wide, we might start seeing something along those lines.
But yeah, like if a Jeskai, like I said, if a Jeskai tokens deck ever got a hold of Bone Splinters, I do not think they will feel bad at all to pay 1 black and sack a token to buff their whole field and kill a creature and draw cards. There's too much value in that.
Let's move on. Drana, we actually really expected to see, and what we also said that it may take a while, it may take the next set for us to see whether allies take off, and there simply were no allies. The aggro decks did not run black. It was either Selesnya tokens, or it was Sam Black's Bant tokens, or it was red-green aggro, or something along those lines. There was quite a bit of landfall creatures, though, and Jared was particularly on fire with last episode because he said, I asked how you can abuse Dragon Master Outcast, and he said, well, maybe you could do Ojutai's command, and turns out several pros were wise to this combo, and it made it to the top 8.
I think I watched at least 3 decks do that. Like, they're just... I remember watching, I think it was Owen Turtenwald, he was playing the deck, and as soon as he brought it back, I can't remember who he was playing at the time. It wasn't top 8, but he just sat there, he goes, oh no, he just gained 4 life and is now about to start making dragons. Like, he just had that look on his face where he was like, I do not know how to answer that.
I was extremely shocked at how quickly Ojutai's command and Dragonlord Ojutai came into demand after Pro Tour. It was pretty uncanny. We opened our doors the very next day and we just had people pouring in asking for them, willing to pay the extremely high prices that they have now jumped to.
What's Ojutai's command at now?
I believe last time I checked it, it was about 200% of what it had been 4 days prior. Yeah.
I'll be curious to see where the prices settle, maybe at the end of this week, maybe next week.
I'll tell you one of the biggest price jumps of the entire thing right now, because this is just because I was in the middle of building the deck, and one of the biggest jumps of the entire Pro Tour was Den Protector.
Really?
He was like around a $10 card. He went to a $12 card. Then he was down to an $8 card. And literally last week, he was average on TCG Player at $6. And I went to go buy mine yesterday, and they are 17 now.
Yeah, and with Ojutai's command, before the Pro Tour, before deck ideas started coming out, it was hovering at about $1.50. It's now $5. Stuff is they've definitely noticed the cards are starting to get some really good use now. So.
Well, the card was seeing a lot of play in the control shells, too, which I thought was a little strange, because I was like, well, you get the life and draw card, and you get a really bad cryptic command. But at the same time, I think it just went up because of the card's demand in these Jeskai decks, along with the playability in the control lists.
Absolutely.
Okay, it's about time that we go ahead and wrap up. But before we wrap up, both of you get to say goodbye, and if you have any social media links that you want to provide, then you can do that.
You can always look me up on Facebook as Dove Milhan. I am the tournament organizer for the Gathering Place San Angelo. Please look us up, like our page. We actually post these podcasts on our page, and we also have a lot of other resources. If you're in the West Texas area, you definitely want to check us out. It's facebook.com/TGPSA. Feel free to look us up. And if you're ever in San Angelo, come say hi to me. I'd love to meet new people.
I'm kind of like a boring old college student in Stephenville, Texas. So you feel free to, if you have any questions of like standard, and I do play a lot of modern as well. So if you do have like questions over like metagame deck suggestions, I'm pretty open to anything. You can hit me on Facebook, tj.love777, and that's about really all I have. But you can email me at tj.love2@gmail.com. I'm always open for questions.
And then I really hope that everyone listening knows how to reach me as the executive producer, but if you don't, you can find me on Twitter as Joseph_Dunlap, and you can find me on Facebook easily. I'm in a lot of the community groups. I'm always posting links to articles that I've written, and you can always email the podcast. We are under the P4 banner, so you can email us at player4podcast@gmail.com. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/c/player4podcast. This has been Draw 4 Podcast. Until next time, we wish you good fortune. See what I did there? Tower of Fortunes. And may you draw well.
Joseph got there. You got there.
You did get there. Bye, guys.